So good evening, race fans, and welcome to the very first race of the Herd Summer Racing League. Tonight we'll be racing a single lap, although it may not seem like a single lap. It is a single lap of the Volcano climb after party, which will essentially be 2 laps of Volcano Flat followed by a single lap of Volcano Climb. It is very, very, very flat for the first 35 kilometers, followed by a climb up the volcano, and the finish line will be the very top of the Volcano Climb. Tonight I'm joined by Gordon Sloan and Ed Finney, and our man on the course is Ben Knopfling. So we are looking at a staggered start. So the D riders are going to head off in just over 1 minute, and then after that we will have the C riders heading off 5 minutes later, the B riders 5 minutes after that, and the A riders 5 minutes after that. We're looking to feature with one rider in the C's. Ben, our rider of course, is in the C's. We'll also have another rider to follow, well as one in the Bs. Gordon, clock's ticking down. How do you feel this one's going to go?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's a bit of a change. It's a lot longer than normal HPR. So, and as you said, the start's going to be quite a flat one. So I don't think anyone's going to win it in the first 20 minutes, but you can certainly lose the race in the first. I think they'll probably, the usual start, quite a fast start, probably group up and then just see what groups they can settle in with. And I expect them to calm down for the good first 30k before the volcano climb. Just as we'll go back to the live action here for the minute, hopefully, as the D riders are just about to start, just with 3, 4. Got a good number in the pen. Let's have a look, see how many we've got starting. Looks 40 odd riders. So just have a check once they've. Obviously, it's slightly changed to normal because it's split categories now. It is only D riders in this pen, so we might find the start a bit calmed down. Yeah, we're only seeing sort of 2 or 3 watts per kilo, so not too bad. I suspect they might get quite a good bunch together. There's 1 or 2 maybe going off the front at sort of 3, 4, 5 watts, but I suspect they'll either go off and stay off and will bunch up quite well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on with a 5-minute head start to hold that back, or C's, the B's and the A's manage to catch them up as well. But yep, heading down the off ramp now, and we'll just see how they group up in a couple of minutes.
Excellent. So obviously we've talked about beforehand how the probably first 35 kilometers of this course is on the flat. So I think obviously the first 35k is probably going to favour the heavier, more powerful riders. And then obviously we've got the lighter riders who'll have a bit more success up the hill. Ed, is this sort of a course that you'd like to take on?
Maybe. We'll see if I jump in this thing tomorrow. It looks pretty challenging, though. I think I can hold my own on the flats. I'd obviously be in the C cat, and I don't know. I'm a little heavier, so that the end with the hill climb just depends on how much everybody puts out on the flats. I know that in B, there's some strong guys in there. So I think it's going to be a hot race through the flats, and then the climb is going to take its toll on those guys who burn themselves out, and hopefully the lighter people are going to hope that they still have some in them so that they can make it to the top faster than the heavy guys. Could be tough. Looks like. I think, go ahead, James.
I think from my point of view, this is one of my favourite race circuits. I love the fact that it's in terms of gradient, pretty gentle for the first, best part of an hour, if not an actual hour, and then it just all goes absolutely mental for the last probably 10 minutes, maybe 9 minutes if you're fairly quick up the hill. But yeah, no, I think that volcano is going to absolutely shatter the field. So I cannot wait until the last 10 minutes of this race. And I think the first hour is going to be pretty steady. I think we'll have our usual crazy start, and then we'll get groups appearing. Yeah, last 10 minutes are going to be absolutely key, and cannot wait to see how that goes. Gordon, what's going on with the Ds?
Yeah, so back on the front, it initially formed into sort of two groups, which just about merged back together, but they have split out a wee bit now. So there's a front group, probably about half a dozen. Then behind that, maybe there's split into maybe 3 or 4 other groups, just 2 or 3 riders each. So I think they're just feeling each other out, see how they get on. Tracy at the moment has just been capped slightly, so she's slightly on her own, but it looks like she's pushing to catch up with that wheel in front. So I think at the moment the riders are just trying to find what sort of group they're going with, because the front end of these Ds are pushing over 3 watts a kilo, so they're pretty strong if they are Ds. I doubt they'll be able to hold that for the full hour. So just interesting trying to work out at the moment whether you are chasing D riders or see what power they can put out for the whole hour. I suppose the other thing with this course, we are offering points not just for finishing for the volcano climb, I believe, as well. So that might add some interest if you get sit up a wee bit and then do a faster volcano climb and see if you can catch on points that way. But at the moment, Tracy is being distanced a wee bit. She's about 3 seconds behind, so I suspect she'll probably better just sit up slightly. There's another group chasing 4 or 5 seconds. So in the tunnels at the moment, still early, only to go on for 3 or 4 minutes. But yeah, just riders finding themselves, and with the C riders starting soon, chasing them down, which I suppose adds another point of interest. Normally, D-type riders can't hold onto a C wheel, but by the time the C's catch, they'll be a bit more tired. So it might be a case that a tired D can hold onto a tired C rider. Certainly adds a new dynamic to the racing. We'll see how that affects as well.
Yep, so we are just 10 seconds away from the C group setting off. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good luck, Ben, and everyone else in the field, or everyone shoots off straight away. Good luck to all of those guys. Ed, so you're following the bees today. How
Yep.
How are you expecting that to set off today?
Boy, I'm looking at some of the stats here, and just with power, there's some real power out there. This Leon Slatterly's got a 15-second over 1,000 watt power, and so he's going to be out there. He's an 84 kilogram guy, so he's not the lightest on earth. So. Kevin Fred, I'm thinking we'll hang out there with Max Szymanski. I'm sure they're going to try and jump out on the front and hang on to the main group. We'll see if Maureen Finney holds with the main group like she did last week. And I think for that light of a person, she's going to try and hold on to a tail and see if they can help her get some distance between the rest of the riders. But all of these riders in B are extremely strong. It is going to be fast. Now, can they make up 5 or 10 minutes on the C and D riders? I guess we're going to find out, and we're going to see how they climb at the end, because I think that's where this race is going to be won or lost. I think everybody's going to be grouped together through the flat, moving right along, and when they hit the hill, it's going to be a free for all. So should be entertaining. That like you said, last 10 minutes, we're going to see, I think, all the riders on the mountain at the same time. And it's just going to be utter mess. So we'll see how it turns out. Back to you, James.
Yeah, we all love utter carnage in a bike race. Why not? So I'm following Kyle, who is a herd racer. He's currently in 40th out, 73rd in the CCAT, just over the first kilometre. And as we expected, we got big groups all over the place. There's a little bit of a split to the front groups, but we've got a nice big group back here. And from my own perspective, I'm definitely never going to win a C race, but I do like the sort of like midway battles in the category, and we've definitely got a decent one going on here. So Carl's in a nice group, I would say, of probably 10 to 15, and we are obviously early stages, 1.5k into this 40-kilometre race. So all going well. So let's switch back to Gordon and find out how the Ds are getting on.
Yeah, Ds are getting on not too bad. focusing on Tracy for the moment. That group did catch up with her, and unfortunately, I've passed right by her. So, again, finding yourself a bit on her own. She's got one rider on her wheel, but about an 8-second gap ahead and 20 seconds behind. So, it continues like this. I suspect the group behind will catch. So, but early stages yet. We're just in the sort of marina part of the course. Not really done many uphills yet. We've got the sort of switchbacks up around the Italian village. Will probably be the next point to try and catch up, but best plan I think for her was probably just wait for that group behind and settle in. By the look of it, the front of the D's, they must, let me see if I can find where they are. They're probably about 40, 50 seconds ahead, so they are powering away. I don't expect anyone to catch them up, but quite a big group, so it'll be interesting to see whether anyone does get near them and how they decide to treat the volcano. And as you said, we'll probably quite calm for the first two and a half laps before we hit the volcano. And then I expected the madness to start for anyone that's got any energy left. We'll be trying to get up that volcano for the sprint finish, if possible, to the top. But yeah, they're going all right at the moment. Unfortunately, Tracy is just a bit left on her own, so wait in a bit and see if she can catch over a group or she'll just merge in with that group behind. But yeah, how's Ben and Carl doing in the C's?
So I can't see Ben, but I think now is a good time to switch over to Ben and see how he's getting on. Ben, can you hear us?
Yeah, James, I sure can. About 3Ks in now in a group of what feels like about 200 people, just sort of wheel surfing at the moment. Everything seems to be fairly stable and calm, but long way to go.
Yeah, definitely am. So we probably still got about another 31, 32 kilometres on the flat. So still a lot of flat roads to come. Obviously, the main climbs are going to be round the switchbacks where you've got like 1-2% of a gradient, and then also there's another switchback going into the volcano. So.
Hate to jump in here, James, but the bees are just launching off the line. So we've got a few guys taking off. Kevin's out in the front right now, pulling about 7 watts a kilogram. He's got G. Gordley behind him, Maureen Finney, T. Grady. So they're starting to stack up a bit here, and we'll see Mike Buggy out there. And we have a Pedalera rider pulling out the front. So we'll see how this goes. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, I'm guessing the Pedalera rider is going to be Toby Zuri, who's a long-time fan of the HBR races, and he's also joined in the Herd Summer Racing League. So good to see him out there.
Correct.
In terms of the C group we've been following, Carl's still hanging nicely in this group. It's a fairly large group. I think we'll probably look, as I said earlier, probably looking like 10, 15. And I think Ben's a little bit further up the road. But nice group. I think time to switch back to the Ds. Yeah,
I've just commented on Ben briefly. It looks like Ben's maybe in the group just a bunch ahead of Kyle. So again, it looks like a huge group, 15, 20 riders. And looking at the stats on Zwift Power, Ben is in that front group of Cs. So he's doing very well. Potentially, he might have an A rider interfered with that group at the moment, so the pace is probably quite high, but he's doing very well. But back to Tracy now. There, she's on the sort of switchbacks up to the Italian village. Still a wee bit alone. The group in front have now gapped maybe about 40 seconds, but there's a group closing behind 10 or 15 seconds. Totally on her own at the moment, so maybe just sitting up a wee bit, waiting for that group to catch. Long way to go. I don't know if we can see the C riders yet. They are quite far back, but I suspect that 5-minute gap will come down quite quickly, especially with the front of the C's pushing hard. So that does give another opportunity. If she can maybe jump onto the wheels of some of the C riders, that could close the gap, pull those riders in front ahead. But long way to go. I mean, we've only done 6K at the moment, so I think you said the total was near 40K, was it? Something like that. So just as at the moment she's getting a group pulling up behind her, 5-second gap now, so I suspect she'll try and settle in with them and just follow them round for the laps, 2.5 laps before we hit the volcano. But yeah, how do on the front then with the bees with the fast start? Have they managed to find a group together yet?
Ed, how are we looking at the bees?
Sorry about that. push the button here. We still have a big group up at the front. I can't even count how many, well over 10 people. Kevin Fred's right in there with them. Greg Williams, Matt Buggy, I think is it Mike Buggy. A few other well-known names. Max Szymanski, of course, is up there. So big group. Everybody's sucking wheel here. Front guys pulling 3.8 while everybody else is in the 2.8 to 3.0. So they're conserving. I don't know if anybody's going to try and break this thing away, but looks like there's a rather large group of B riders all in a large group. So nothing spectacular happening right now, but we're only 1.4 miles into it, or just a few kilometers. All right, James?
So we are just hitting the 3 switchbacks, and the group in the seats is still very large. So we've still got a good sort of 10, 15 plus group here, and everyone seems particularly happy. We're all just hanging around sort of like probably 2.5 to 2.8, going around the switchbacks. So a little bit of a gradient here, like one between 1 and 2%. Always feels a bit harder when you reach this point. The flat course, but yeah, group is good. Carl's doing well. Everything's golden. How about you, Gordon?
Yeah, pretty much as we were before. Tracy now, she's out the Thailand village, just heading down the dirt track down to the volcano flat. But pretty much has this. She looks like she may have actually gapped the few riders behind her a wee bit, or is that nope, she has been caught. So there's a group of 3 of them at the moment, Team Madrid and an S Mahar. So hopefully she can sit in with the 3 of them and try and make up some ground on the riders ahead. Looking behind, that fast C group is really catching. I mean, last I checked, it's probably down to about a kilometre behind. So I suspect that 5-minute head start will probably be evaporated before we even get round the first lap. But it'll be interesting to see if she does have a bit of power to try and jump on their wheels. She might get that chance to pull back up to some of the other D riders, but only time will tell. I think with 2 laps of this to go, the D riders will probably just tend to spread out more and more, depending on what the gap's like when they hit the volcano. Unless it's maybe under a minute gap, I wouldn't see any changes in position when we hit the volcano. But at the moment, she's doing very well, settled in with a group of 3, so I suspect these lot will try and hold together at the moment, unless when the C riders come past and interfere and maybe drag them up in speed and see if they can catch anyone in front. So as you were, pretty much, really.
So just a quick switch over to Ben. Ben, if you can hear us, how are you getting on?
Yeah, it's an interesting little dynamic. No one really wants to do any work on the front. I suspect there's quite a few people taking a leaf out of Gordon's book here, and they've dropped back to C when they shouldn't be here, but we'll see if that splinters out. And I think everyone's just kind of watching each other at the moment and not wanting to do any more work than that.
I'm not sure on that. Looking at the Zwift Power stats, you can see a couple of B riders potentially in the C peloton there, and there's also a 1 A star rider. So if they're the ones that are driving the front of that, the pace is going to be high. But by the looks at Ben, you're right on the front on the C groups. So at the moment, you're doing everything perfectly. Just sit in the draft and make the most of it.
Yeah, Aleph Cologne there is an A+ rider pulling 3.6 off the front right now. So that's who you're tailing, Ben. So I'm not sure why he dropped into C, but certainly he's pushing more power than that, so that could be tough.
One of the things to bear in mind in these events is that any people who have entered the wrong category will find themselves being disqualified. So we're doing everything we can to ensure that the categories are fair. And occasionally people will accidentally enter into the wrong category, which is completely understandable. But we're doing everything we can to ensure that anyone who enters into C will find themselves in the results with other C riders. So on that note, we're still watching Kyle. Kyle is still in his group of plenty of people, and I suspect this may well last until we actually hit the volcano in around about what are we, 8 kilometers down. So probably another 27K until we have the big climb towards the end. Ed, is there any action happening in the B group?
Well, there's a lot of jockeying for position going on here. Kevin's about in fourth place in the Bs here right now. Max is right with him. Maureen's in the same group. So Kevin's pushing about 3.9 right now on average. We've got Max is pushing 3.8. Maureen Finney at 3.6. Mike Buggy 3.2. They're all in the same group though. It is a massive group with only about 4 B riders that are not in this group of probably 12. So everybody's hanging together on this thing. We're just starting up a slight incline at the 1% switchbacks before we head over towards the volcano. So nothing spectacular. Kevin's was out front for a little bit, but now he's dropped off a little just to hopefully suck a wheel for a while and just bide his time. So again, nothing spectacular, just a lot of power being put out. James?
Yeah, so looking at Zwift Power, the leading sea riders are probably about 200 meters behind the slower ones of the Ds. So I think in terms of what Gordon's seeing, that there could be a bit of action coming up soon. So Gordon, how's Tracy getting on?
Yep, still doing very well. Still in a group of 3, just sitting on the back wheel with them. I'm trying to have a keep an eye out for where the sea riders are. By the looks of it, they've just come up the volcano, sort of switchback. Tracy and the other 2 riders are actually inside the volcano, so I suspect this group might be caught probably just before the start-finish banner. By the look of it, they've probably got 500 or 600 meters. But whether that C group is a very fast group behind. I mean, the front of it looks like they're probably doing 3-4 watts of kilos at times. So I suspect they probably won't get on the wheel of these riders. So they might have to wait for 1 or 2 of the other C groups to come past before they can jump on their wheel. But it'll be interesting to see if any of them try. But at the moment, they're just going along nicely. The 3 of them in a group. I think they'll probably sit that way. They'll probably possibly catch on one of the later C groups. By the look of it, the first group, which has got Ben in, is flying along pretty fast. We have Kyle also doesn't look he's too far behind in his little group, so good opportunity to jump on one of them. But we're probably, I don't know, probably 5 minutes away maybe from them merging together, maybe a wee bit less. Suspect by the time we hit the banner, it'll probably all come back to one, and it's just a case to see whether they can hang on and try and close that gap to the rest of the D riders. But get back to me in a couple of minutes and we'll see where we are.
Yeah, so having a quick look at Zwift Power, Carl's doing a great job, averaging about 2.9 watts per kilo. In terms of the rest of the C group, so Ben's right up front. He's second on the Zwift Power categories. He's holding 3.0 and he's at 10.4K. And Kyle is at 9.9, so it's about a 500 meter gap. And just having a look on the actual screen, so Kyle is now in a group of around about probably 7 or 8. There's been a little bit of a split in front of them. I think they're trying really hard to get back on. I think they probably will do. There's a little. The split in front is probably about another 5 riders, and they're just going to grab back on now, only about sort of 10 meters behind. So all looking well. We're just grouping back up with these 5 or 6 riders to reclaim a group of around about 10 to 12. And I think, to be honest, this is probably how it's going to pan out for the next probably lap and a half. But I wouldn't expect them to catch the group in front. They're now about half a kilometre in front. So let's switch over to Ed and see how the bees are getting on.
So we had a couple of guys try a little attack there. It was Josh Solario and Leon Slattery. Slattery was the one I was mentioning, had over 1,000 watt to 15-second power. He's right now averaging 322 watts, which is the highest in the group here. But the group, the blob caught up to him fairly quickly. So I think they just expended some energy there. Kevin is still in the group. Maureen Finney all in there. Max is right there. Mike Buggy still hanging in there. Looks like we're still 5 minutes off the lead C group, but I'm looking at maybe a little over a minute behind the slower C cat people. So, yep, looks like we're going to start overtaking some C's right now. So they're moving out right now, 28 miles per hour average. So really pushing here. We're just starting up the little hill into the volcano. So we'll see if this stretches anybody out. These guys are strong. I see 8 watts a kilogram going up this hill, and they're still screaming. All right, James.
Yeah, all good. Carl is doing a great job hanging on to this group, still averaging around about 2:829, which is obviously a very respectable speed for a sea rider. So, looking at Swift power, so Carl is currently in Swift terms, he's in the mid 30s out of 73. And there are obviously far less riders who are actually registered in Swift Power. They're catching a few Ds. Some of the stragglers in the D terms. In terms of Gordon, Gordon's watching. So Tracy's at 12.5, and Kyle's at 11.8. So they're still 700 meters behind Tracy's group. But how's Tracy getting on?
Yeah, Tracy's doing all right. Still in that group of 3, just as we started the start-finish banner, so that first group of sea riders did catch them up. I'm just having a look. There must be 20 to 30 sea riders in that group. So they flew right past the D riders, didn't really get a chance to jump on the wheels. So back to Tracy at the moment. I'm just trying to see how many's in her little group. Find her. She's just the same 2 riders. So they've got about 8 seconds to the D riders in front, and there's a couple of C's coming up behind them as well. So they're probably going slightly slower. Might be able to jump on their wheels at the moment. Tracy's just been gapped by a second, but I think she'll get back on. But that front C group's certainly going flying past. They've even opened the gap up to about 30 seconds now. So carrying on as it was, 3 of them. It looks like they've actually caught up with another couple of D riders. The gap's down to about 5 seconds. So I bet they'll merge together, and then there'll probably be 5 or 6 of them in a group, which is a good idea to push on with them. And hopefully some of the slightly slower sea riders will catch up as well, drag them along a bit more. So you could find that more and more of the D riders start to bunch up, depending on wheels they can hold on to from the C groups there as they go round. But it's quite interesting at the moment. Just as we're heading into the tunnel, it's about to merge into a group of 5. Some more sea riders chasing behind.
So, Ed, any movement in the bees?
Yeah, it's starting to spread out a little bit here. So it looks like we got 8 or 10 riders that are still up in the front of the pack, though this Gorley has made a little bit of movement. We got a few riders that now are 25 seconds back. We got Maureen Finney, Mike Buggy have kind of fallen off that pace. Greg Williams is back over 2 minutes behind even them, so it looks like he's struggling a bit in this race. When I do have conversation with Maureen Finney periodically, and from looking at her stats, she was averaging 207 watts. Now her FTP is 195, so that was a big push for her, and I think her and Mike have decided to coast back a little bit, so they are a good 20 seconds off this main lead group, and they'll probably form up their own smaller blob back behind there. Now Kevin Fred still pushing hard, over 4 watts a kilogram right now. This group is moving at 32 miles per hour out in the flat, and really, really moving. So Max Szymanski is still there, along with the usual ones. There must be 10 or 12 guys still in this lead group, and they're still pushing hard. So we'll see how this goes. James?
So Ed, I'm going to expect you to be able to translate miles per hour into kilometers now in the next 5 minutes. But having said that,
Hold
we've
on.
got we've got this C group shoving along around about 41 kph, which in my terms, if I'm holding like a 2728, I'll be doing like 38 kph. So 41 kph is doing they're shifting along quite nicely, especially on a flat gradient. Carl's doing a great job hanging on to this group of, I would say, probably 10 to 15. Hard to see, but they're doing a lovely job. Just coming under the big tree before they head into the tunnel. 15k down, probably 20 kilometers until we have the big climb. Hanging on around about 35 to 40th position. So I think now is probably a good time to switch to Ben and see how Ben's getting on.
Yeah, hey guys. This group split coming out of the volcano, so I sort of chased back on, tried to bridge across, but it all kind of formed back up again. So I'm a bit worried I burned a match, but just sitting in, making sure I'm paying attention and I'm not going to miss any splits, keeping an eye on the people that I know. We'll see how we go.
I think, Ben, it's also important to realise that there might be a few people in your group who possibly accidentally entered the wrong category. So if you're like feeling that you're burning a match a little bit early on, that it could just be there are some people who've entered the wrong category as well. So do what you can, and we will catch up with you a little bit later on. And quickly move over to Ed. How's it going up there?
Well, they're still screaming, and they are at 48 to 50 kilometers per hour right now, so that's moving right along. Kevin Fred is just mid-pack right now, holding it, it's about 3 watts a kilogram. And they are just cruising along. Every now and then you'll see him pump up to about 5 just to keep position. But there's still that big group all holding together. The next group is about 11 seconds back. And then a further group back that is trying to form up, I believe, with Maureen Finney and Mike. So still a big group. Looks like about 10 or 12 all holding together pretty nicely, but they're moving right now. It's on a 0% incline, and they're pulling 44 kilometers per hour, whatever that is. Thank you, James.
Thank you very much for making an effort to contribute to the rest of the world who, and realistically, everyone knows that if you're on a bike, then you need to. I'm actually not going to say what I was thinking I was going to say. So, in the seas, Carl is now a little bit on his own. He is about 6-10 seconds behind the rest of his group, and it looks like he might be struggling a little bit. Carl's holding about 2.5, about 10 seconds behind the group. In front of him, and there are some guys about 15 seconds behind. So Carl is on his own, sadly. But let's just quickly switch to Gordon. Gordon, what's going on with these?
Yeah, so that was Carl's group that kind of passed them just coming out the tunnel. None of the Ds, I don't know if they tried to make a bit of an effort to get on, but none of them to keep onto the Cs. I mean, I think Carl's group were still doing over 3 watts a kilo, so it's not surprising none of them managed to jump on. But still a group of about 5 of them here, going at a good pace for Cat D. But interesting to see what happens with Carl now, because he has been kind of left and right in between the Cs, which are just going to pull further and further away wherever he drops back and rides with these D riders. I don't know if that might be the best choice. There's not really any more C riders for at least a whole minute back, so it looks like he's a bit of no man's land at the minute, but he might be riding on his own for a while unless he groups up with these D riders, although they're possibly going slightly slower than he'd like. But yeah, group of 5 or 6 at the minute. There's a few straggling Ds behind, which might get pulled up with some of the C groups, but at the moment it's just as we were before, a group of 4 or 5, and I suspect it'll be like this till we hit the volcano. possibly catch a few stragglers on the way round as they get fired out the back of the group. Just in front, I can see another couple of riders. Looks like they've been dropped from that C group as well, which I suspect it'll be like that all the way round. For the front of that C group, they are going pretty fast, so I think it'll just be a continuous stream as riders in ones and twos get popped out the fast groups, but then grouping up with the whoever's next on the road. But yeah, as we are pretty much here, hopefully Kyle will. He's still holding the gap 20 seconds, but I don't see him catching anyone in front. So it depends whether he wants to take a rest and save it for Volcano or keep pushing on his own to get a good time.
Yeah, so as you said, Gordon, Kyle's about 12 seconds behind the rest of the SC group, now dropping down to 11. There's a couple of people who have also dropped off that main group, and I think Kyle will probably maybe group up with them eventually. But he's about 20 seconds in front of the D group behind, so we're not entirely sure if there will be some grouping, so could be a while. But let's switch over to Ed and see how the Bees are doing.
Yeah, so we've got two guys that have split up the front, and they're a couple of seconds out. There's a second group that's about 5 people that are trying to pull away from the main group. Kevin is in basically what you might call the third group, sitting with Max Schmansky and a few others. All in all, there's about 12 riders here that are fairly close together, with the next group of 3 or 4 B riders that are more than a minute behind this group. And then there's more even farther back. They're still continuing to pass some of the C and D riders. Looks like the two groups behind the two attackers have pulled back together with a big push out of the group, and still moving 41 kilometers an hour. So these guys are moving right along. It looks like they're going to catch the front 2 guys here shortly, I think, and suck them back into the blob. But again, we're 18 kilometers in, and we still have quite a race to go. A good, half, or almost halfway, but mostly flat. We'll see what happens when we hit the climb. James?
Yeah, so Kyle's still about 10 seconds or so behind the people in front, and about 15 seconds in front of the people behind. So he's definitely in what we'd like to call no man's land. But I suspect at some stage he'll get some company, because it's probably quite lonely out there. Nothing worse than being in a bike race with no one around you. But he's still putting over watts. So we'll see how this one pans out in the next sort of 5-10 minutes. Gordon, are you seeing a little bit more action where you are?
Yeah, well, slightly more. I mean, there's a group of 3 or 4 still. They're just hitting the top of the switchbacks before the Italian village. Looking in behind them, it looks like the C group are catching, but also believe the B group, the front of the B groups are approaching very fast as well. But I think this next C group's quite a good opportunity for these D riders to maybe try and jump on. They're not pushing quite as fast as the front few C groups, so I think if they can jump on a wheel here, that'll be a big advantage, try and pull them along a wee bit. But I'm just wondering whether the front B riders might interfere as well and drag some Cs, and it could end up in a big mass peloton for a minute and a bit of a mess. So we'll probably find out in 5 minutes where things are, but I suspect there'll be a few riders jumping around trying to jump onto the higher cats to pull along a bit quicker. But yeah, at the moment, still a group of 4. Trying to have a look out to see where Kyle is in front. I don't see him at the moment, but group of 4 or 5 just coming out the Italian village with a 20-second. Times are jumping around a wee bit. I can see a large peloton in the Italian village as well, and a large group behind. So she's on the gravel heading down to the Volcano Flat, which looks like the C riders are 15-16 seconds behind them. A few familiar faces in that. Paul Shuckrow I can see. Who else have we got in there? There's Thomas Chu as well. So I suspect they'll catch, and hopefully these D riders can jump on the wheel. But we've also got, looks like the front of the B riders. So I'm just trying to see how far behind they are. Not far there. It looks like they're maybe only about 10 seconds further back. So we might find the B's and the C's merge up a wee bit, and then see what the mess comes after that, what's left. But right now, group of 4 going as we were, which is looking good. If we can just stick with this group and save the energy for the volcano, I'm sure will be the plan. But yeah, how are we looking up ahead?
I'd like to just quickly switch to Ben Knopfling, our man on the course. Ben, it looks like you're in quite a big group at the moment.
Yeah, we've all sort of formed up. I think we caught a couple of people and got caught by others, and it's just kind of all formed up into a group that I must admit I'm working a lot harder than I wanted to. So I'm just kind of hanging on at the moment.
Hang on in there, and we will catch up with you before too long. Ed, what's going on with the bees?
Okay, so we've got the lead group here is 13 riders. Every now and then somebody would kind of pull off the front, but quickly gathered back up by the group. So we're moving right along, 42, 43 kph. The next group back, of course, in the B is a couple minutes back, and that's a much smaller. It's actually just Maureen Finney, Mike Buggy are holding their own, just about 2 minutes behind the rest of the Bs. But everybody's starting to overtake C and D riders, so there's a lot of riders on the course. It's getting a little confusing. Looks like this B group is about 3 minutes behind the lead C rider. So I anticipate that they will catch them before the hill, and we'll see how that pans out. The A group is not too much farther behind, so we'll see how it goes. Could be a good finish, of course, if these 13 can hold together until the mountain climb. It's definitely going to be a lot of power being thrown down. James?
Yeah, so Kyle is still pretty much on his own, and he is first rider ahead of Gordon's group following.
Yeah, I'll just maybe jump in there briefly, just as the groups seem to be merging together. That's both that next C group and what looks like the front of the B group coming straight past here. So it's a bit of mayhem at the minute. The sort of riders at the moment. I suspect the D riders just waiting to see if they can jump on. But by the looks of it, Tracy's group is maybe just let the Bs and the Cs just go past. So back as we were, we're a group of 4. But I suspect Kyle, this will be a good chance for him now with a couple of groups coming behind him to see if he can jump on. How does it look, James?
Yeah, no, Kyle's just going up the steep switchback, and I can see that there's a bunch of riders just about to take the same switchback. So they're probably about maybe 15, 20 seconds behind. So Kyle could have some company before too long. So it's entirely up to him on how he decides to deal with that. And he's like maybe it's only 2 seconds now. Kevin Flood's just about to come up to him to lap, and is he going to push down? Yeah. So Carl's put down some big watts to try and hang on, but the bees have flown past him.
I think he might struggle on those ones, but hopefully the C group, which are not far behind, might be more to his pace.
Right.
Yeah. So
these guys are moving.
The bees have flown past him.
Yeah. 43. Yeah. That group is about 12 now. I think we lost somebody back there a little ways, but still this group of 12 is hanging together really well. Keep pushing it at 45, 46 kph. And they're at 22.6 miles kilometers out. So about 17 before we get to the top of the climb. Still a ways. What are we? It looks like at about 37. So about 15 kilometers till we hit start that climb. So I anticipate these guys will just hang in this blob and push it and hold together. And then once we hit the climb, it's going to be a free for all. All right, James.
So Carl's got a bit of company finally. Hooray! So he's now found 3 other sea riders who have joined him, and so he's in a group of 4, just coming around the outside of the volcano. So now in around about 44th position out of 73. So doing a nice job, and we've now got 5. So group hug, everyone. So we've got a nice group now, and let's switch back to Gordon.
Yeah, so those the B and C groups are long past Tracy and her group now. We're back as we were. Looks like we've got one more. We've got 5 riders in this group. Trying to see who it is. So C Romero, which is a C rider. I presume he's probably been spat out of that group that came past and maybe didn't quite hang on. So group of 5 at the moment, and I think it'll be pretty much like the other groups. They're just settling in, and I don't expect anything crazy to happen until we hit the volcano. Just looking behind, there's actually, it looks like Thomas Chu and I think it's Sarah Weissman, 2 sea riders just behind. So I suspect they might just try and catch on as well and form up a group of 7 or 8. And beyond that, there's quite big gaps to the behind. So I suspect we'll see those 7 or 8 carry on round all the way to the volcano. Then, like everyone, we're expecting fireworks as people try and attack up the volcano, and that's where the race is going to be won or lost for I think anyone today. But yeah, it's as we were carrying round, but picking up 1 or 2 odd riders as they're getting dropped from the groups ahead.
I think category-wise, Tracy's doing fairly well. We've got a couple of guys. The 2 front runners up there are going to punch out over wattage. You've got some Bs in the DCAT. So all in all, she's holding her own. I think she's doing a good job there with John.
I think she's doing pretty well. I mean, there's a couple, as you said, front runners that'll probably get qualified, I think, for maybe being slightly overpower. There's maybe a couple ahead. There's Mark V, which is looks like he's ridden with the Herd of Platypus team before. He's probably the front runner of the Ds at the moment, and he is a minute or 2 ahead up the road. I'm not quite sure which group he's actually in with. He's maybe jumped onto the wheel of a C group, and maybe that's why he's getting pulled along. But Tracy's doing well at the minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mark's running about a 2.4, so he's still hanging in there in the grouping. But the ones, there's still 2 Ds at the front that are in the lead by about a minute, and they're running 3.2, 2.6. So I think unless they back off a bit on the hill, they're going to get the boot. But all in all, looks pretty good. The B group still the same cast of characters here. About 10 of them just holding their own, running about 44. They're 25 kilometers in, so about another 10, 12 before they hit the little bump at the end. James?
Yeah, so Carl's found a nice group of about, I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7, just going over the banner for the penultimate time. Well, actually, the last time. So the next time we see a banner will be the top of the volcano climb. We've got a nice group hanging on around about 2.5, 2.7. Carl's doing a good job, and yeah, all is well. So
just
back to Gordon.
Just switching back to the Ds here for the minute. So, as I suspected, the couple of C riders behind, Thomas and Sebel, caught up from behind, but it looks like actually Tracy's managed to pull away with those 2 riders and gap the other 2 or 3 D riders behind. So we've got a bit of a split in the group at the moment. 4-second gap at the minute. We're just seeing it looks like they're trying to close it down, but with these 2 C riders on the front pushing, it might be a hard push. Wait and see. I mean, there's 4 riders in the group behind, 3 in front, but 2 C riders, I think, will keep this pace high. So I suspect if Tracy can hold on here, it might create a good gap before we hit the volcano, but it's early yet. Still gap sitting at 4, down to 3 seconds. So we can do a bit of a push now and maybe break them and get away, but if not, it will just merge back together and we'll carry on as we were till we hit the volcano, but time will tell.
Yeah, so up front we still have our 12 B riders hanging in there. There's even a B Finney, though he has it spelled wrong. It's an F, and it's supposed to be a PH, as we all know. But hanging in there, everybody's just hold the pace, 46 kilometers per hour. They're currently in the sub-ocean tunnel, if you will. So pretty flat here. Everybody's riding wheels. Max Szymanski still in there. T. Zuri with pedal air, just mid-pack, taking it easy a little bit, and they're actually kind of all working together. Again, we'll see how this pans out once they hit that hill climb. I expect to see a free for all. James.
Yeah, so Carl's still happily sat in this group. We're just about to catch another D rider, T Roman. Pretty much as you were. Excuse me. Yep, happy group. In the mid 40s at 73. Grouping is going well. Carl's doing a good job. Not a lot to say, really. How about you, Gordon?
So that group of three didn't manage to get away, although the group behind did push up, but managed to drop one of the riders. It looks like Adim Madrid is now 9 seconds behind, so whether that was intentional or not, but we're down to a group of 6 at the moment, just as we're heading the sort of water tunnels. Again, there's 10-second gap to the riders behind, so I don't expect that to close, and I don't see many C riders further back as well to pull them along. So I think as we are with most groups here, they've kind of settled into the group that they're with, and I suspect it will head that way till we hit the volcano. Looking in front, there's a minute gap, and there's a couple of riders 10-12 seconds behind, but actually one of them looks like a stray B rider pushing along at 3 watts per kilo, so he'll probably catch up with this group and potentially maybe even drag them on a wee bit further. So that might give them a boost in time, which is kind of interesting with this race. When the split in the riders, you can make up big time gaps if you manage to jump onto the right wheel of a higher category. So certainly something to look for the rest of the weekend when others are racing. But as we were, 6 riders at the moment headed along through the tunnels. I'm not expecting too much action. Probably most people waiting up for the volcano. I think that's another interesting point. There's points for finishing position. I believe there's also points for the fastest times up the volcano. So that adds another dynamic. So whether people sit back knowing that they're going to have to push hard to try and get a good time at volcano could be a valid tactic as well. Even if you're way down in the positional placings, if you smash up the volcano, you'll get some high points. So certainly another valid tactic if you just want to rest up if you know you're quite far back. But how are the other groups doing?
So let's switch over to the bees. Ed, how far away is Kevin from the volcano?
Sorry about that. So we're at 29 kilometers out, so just about 8 kilometers looks like till we hit the bottom of the volcano climb. Looks like we've had about 3 bees drop out that aren't moving. Greg Williams is back at only 16.6 kilometers, so I'm not sure if he's having some technical problems or dropping out. And then Brian Kelly is at 20.3, so considerably farther back than the 29 kilometers that the rest of these bees are sitting at. We've got Maureen Finney, Mike Buggy sitting at 26.5 kilometers. They're a good 3 minutes behind this group, if not 4. But still, same group. 10 guys all holding together, 37 kilometers per hour right now. They just came over the bridge. They're in some of the rougher terrain, so it tends to slow people down a little bit, but they'll come into the zigzags and then probably head out to the volcano, so not too far. Not overly exciting here. They're just kind of jockeying around, and every now and then you get somebody else on the front taking a pull and just holding together. James?
Yeah, so looking at Swift Power, it looks like the main group of the bees are just starting to eat away at the Cs. And if we look a bit further down, the A group are at 25k. So they're probably about 3 kilometers away from Carl, who's at 28, 29. But they're definitely starting to eat into the rest of the pack. Looking at the bees, they are definitely starting to eat into the Cs. So the front of the bees, according to Swift Power, are around about 29k, and the front of the Cs are 31. So still about 2 kilometers to catch. But Carl is still happily sat in his group of, I guess, about 5, probably 6 or 7 riders, coming up to the 30 kilometer mark, and we think the climb is probably around about 35k. So with the total distance around about 40, not far to go now. Trying to look for some familiar names, which I don't really see. Sably Wiseman is about a minute behind, and I'm guessing Gordon Shoes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sable is one of the sea riders in this group of 5 or 6. So we've got Sable, Thomas Chew, we've also got Tracy, also got John Richardson. So we've got a few here. Actually, looks like that rider that was dropped before, and S Mayer's caught up. They're a bit spread out at the moment. There's sort of a second or two gap between them. So be interesting to see if this sticks or not. We're just on the sort of rough patch coming out from the tunnels at the moment. Tracy does have a 2-second gap to that group ahead, so she really needs to jump on it now and stick with that group, or they will start to drift away because there's not anyone immediately behind. It looks like it's quite a big group, maybe 40, 50 seconds, mixture of C and D riders coming along, but at the moment this gap's grown to 3 seconds, so time will tell. I think she's going to have to jump on it very soon if she's going to close that gap, or she will drift back and probably get with the next group. But yeah, it's looking interesting at the moment, but just waiting for the volcano to come will be where the entertainment comes, but just probably hitting the bottom of the switchbacks, or zigzags as we call them, before the Italian village. But at the moment that gap does unfortunately appear to be growing a bit, so I suspect she'll just merge in with the next group unless she makes a sprint for it now. But the volcano coming so soon, I suspect probably better to save her energy. Or she is putting up the pace there, going up to 4 watts a kilo just for a second or two. So whether that was an attempt to catch or just a quick stretch of the legs, but no, it looks like the gap is growing. So I suspect she'll sit up for a wee bit and wait for that next group to come along. But yeah, how's the action at the front? Are the bees catching up with the C's yet?
They sure are. We just passed Barry Finney. We're just right on the tail of a few others. Not everybody, of course, shows up in Zwift Power if they're not signed up that are in the race. It looks like B Finney's trying to hold with the B's here for a while, and a few other C's trying to stick with the group, but I think they're going to get spat out the back here shortly. 12 of these guys are doing 52 kph, so they're moving right along. They're at 32 kilometers, so they're 5 or so until we hit the bottom of that climb. That's not too far. The A riders are at 27.6, so they're still a good 3.5 kilometers behind the B's, and it looks like the B's are just, what are we, 33.7? Maybe 1.5 kilometers behind the lead C person. Yeah, so we're coming up on a pretty large group of C riders right now, I think. And it looks like they're going to overtake them shortly. I don't know if you can see them from your perspective at all, James. There's a very large group of C riders, and they're going to be passed up here shortly. Here we go. Go ahead.
It's not the group that I've been following, but one of the things that I'd like to focus on is the fact that Ben Knopfling's group is now actually leading the race. So quickly switch over to Ben. Ben, as a virtual race leader, how are you feeling?
Like I'm looking for the team car to tow me up this first little bit. It's a bit rough at the moment. We've kind of all formed back together, but I have a feeling my legs have been softened sufficiently to not be a danger up this hill, which I'm not really banking on anyway. But we'll see how.
Have you, Ben? Have you actually hit the hill yet, or is it not quite there?
We're at the 5.4k to go, so about a kilometre.
So not too far to go for Ben. And if we come back to Kyle and the C's, his group has absolutely shattered. Kyle got dropped by about 10 meters and had a big push to try and get back onto his group. He got back on, and then the group just disintegrated. He's just getting back onto M. Gutierrez's wheel. C Tenant even. another American. So he's back onto his wheel, but the gaps in front are about 12, 13 seconds. But behind, you're looking sort of like 45 seconds. So I think for now, Carl is pretty much guaranteed 43rd or 44th place, with not much chance of catching on to the people in front, unless he does a big push up a hill. But he's probably 3 kilometers away from the volcano. So what's happening in the bees, Ed?
So the bees are 3 minutes behind the lead here, and it's going to be tough. We've got only about 5 kilometers to go on this race, and to catch up 3 minutes in time with that other group, it could be tough for these bees to catch up with that. Right now, we still have the same 10 guys. Kevin Fred's right in the middle of it. And they're pushing 42 kilometers an hour. We're just going right through the middle of the volcano right now, so we haven't started the climb yet. Again, we're just shy of 35 kilometers, and from what I can see, it looks like maybe at 37 kilometers is where the climb starts. So I would expect that some of those C's are going to be having to start climbing here shortly, including Ben. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how fast these guys can climb this hill, because they do have substantial amount of time and distance to make up. So they're still 2 kilometers behind the lead group. We'll see. 5 minutes gap in between could be a pretty good one. Looks like the A riders they're still way back there. They're 8 minutes behind, so I don't think they're going to be able to hold up to the season and B riders. James?
Yeah, so just looking at the A's, so they've made some progress through the field. So Michael Considine, who's a hurdle rider, is definitely in that pack. Although one of the A riders is hauling gas and is about a minute ahead of the rest of them. Looking at the Bs, the Bs are like I say, Ed, are about 3 minutes behind the rest of the field. So it's unlikely they'll be able to catch. But there's a big hill coming up, so who knows what's going to happen. So just switching back to Kyle. Kyle's still doing a decent job. He's been with a guy called C Tennant for about the last 5 minutes or so. It's about a 30-second gap in front and a 15-second gap behind. But him and C Tennant are holding down the power, and it's probably a good time to switch back to Gordon.
Yeah, so Tracy's found another little group to team up with. She kind of got distance a wee bit from a few riders, but there's others that have come past, which he's managed to get into a wheel of sort of 3 or 4 at the moment. A few regulars we saw Mike Buggy and Maureen Finney from the B riders come past, but unfortunately they were going a bit fast, couldn't get that wheel. But at the moment she's a group of 4 or 5 as we're just hitting the volcano flat, so just heading along towards the volcano. Probably got another 1 to 2k before we actually start the KOM. And then we'll see what it's like when it goes uphill. Looking at the D riders roundabout, there is 1 D rider in the group with her. In front is probably 20 seconds, and I don't see anyone behind. I can see another A rider. Looks like on their own doing 5-6 watts a kilo. Another A doing 4. So I suspect a few riders will come flying past from behind as we hit the hill. But at the moment, group of 4 or 5. But like all the other groups, I think that's just going to splinter as soon as we hit the hill, and then it'll just be every rider for themselves, because there's not much drafting available once you go out onto the volcano climb itself. So it'll just be whatever energy is left to climb, which some of these riders, after 2.5 laps of Watopia here, they will certainly start feeling it on their legs, and won't be looking forward to a 10-minute climb at the end of this ride for a sprint. But yeah, how are we looking up the front?
Yeah, we just passed KOM banner. As a side note, Ben is sitting really, really good. If he can just pump it out for another couple kilometers here, he could finish nicely in this group because he is substantially ahead. He's still at 2 minutes ahead of 2.5 minutes ahead of this B group and some of the other ones. The Bs are all still hanging in a big group here of about 12 riders. We got a couple of Cs in there trying to hold on, and they're just pumping away 28 kilometers per hour up this 5% grade. I don't know if that's good, but it probably is better than I'm going to do. What's 4 miles per hour in kilometers per hour? Because that's where I'm going to be. Okay?
I'll tell you what,
probably less than 25, right?
If I could do like 28 kph up a 5% hill, I'd be really, really happy.
Yeah, right. Me too. I'm thinking, I don't know what it is, but I think it's pretty damn good. So this group, again, they're holding together. They're pushing 4.5 to 5 watts per kilogram. I just chuckle because I can't even, I never see those numbers. Only when I'm sprinting or something for like 3 seconds. These guys are pushing it on the 5%, so they're approaching another D rider. They'll be overtaking. So, like I say, they're really moving along. Still 10 guys, all grouped together. So it's a mad struggle to stick together, I'm sure, and also to catch that lead group. James?
Yeah, I'm going to apologise in advance, but Ben, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm gone. I got spat really quickly. So I've basically just slipped into a TT mode. I'm just picking a power, picking a gear, and hoping other people in front of me pop worse.
I'll tell you what, mate. To be fair, if you're gone, still holding like 275, 300 watts, you're doing okay. So keep on pushing. You're nearly there, and we'll see you at the end.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys. It's going to be a long 1.4.
just having a look at the stats there. I mean, Ben actually looks like he's probably maybe podium place in C. I reckon he'll still be second or third, so he's doing a great job. I suspect most of the riders in front of him possibly aren't on the Zwift power, so keep it going, Ben. You're still looking like a podium, so keep pushing. Back on Tracy there, one thing we haven't mentioned at all is power-ups. Saw a couple of people throwing down the Feather power-up in the volcano, so it'll be interesting. We've done 2.5 laps now. There will be riders certainly holding power-ups, whether they've got a Feather power-up. Obviously, Aero power-up might not be the best for the volcano climb because it is an uphill sprint finish, so I suspect most, if they have done it, will try and hold on to that Feather power-up for the final part of the volcano climb, which is actually the steepest, up to, I think, about 10-11%. So I suspect there'll be a lot of Feather power-ups going down there, will be the plan. But at the moment, Tracy, she looks like she's maybe lost the wheel a wee bit. She's back on her own, just heading round the volcano outside. Probably, I suspect, about another kilometre before we actually hit the climb. And then it'll be probably a bit like Ben at the moment, TT effort up the climb, seeing if she can catch anyone. There's a couple of D riders ahead of her, so it could be interesting to see if she can catch them up. And just in the sort of looking backwards, it looks like the front of the A group, I can see Michael Considine A riders are 40, 50 seconds, so that gap will close fast, but I don't think it'll have any impact on the first few riders they pass. Keep on their wheels, but time will tell. But I think the A's are probably just too far back to catch anyone of note in the B's or the C's group, but we shall see. Oh, just as we're leaving there, Tracy seems to have gone up to 5 watts a kilo, so don't know if that was just a quick sprint to stretch the legs, but see, nearly heading towards the KOM, and ready for a TT effort up the hill. But yeah, how's the front? They must be approaching at least the halfway or further up the volcano, I would have thought by now.
Yeah, so the Bs are at 39.4 kilometers. They're still pushing 26 kilometers per hour. Starting to spread out a little bit. Kevin is about in third in this group of 10 to 12 guys. They're all pushing over 5 watts a kilogram. They're just coming up on another D rider. They're okay. So top 3 guys, T. Crady, L. Slattery, and Kevin Frudd have pulled away. just slightly, so they're about 1 second ahead of everybody else, and we'll see if they can hold that. They're all pushing hard. Let's see, somebody's making a jump. It is spread out in single file now, heading up this hill, so we no longer have the blob. We're just coming over the wooden bridge portion. Again, we're at 39.9 kilometers. I'm not 100% sure how long this was. I thought it was 40. So we should be coming around to the very, very steep portion, as Gordon said, where the end of the climb is. But until then, I can switch to James.
Yeah, so Carl's doing a good job. He's picking up 1 or 2 places, hanging on to about 2.7 watts per kilo. He's at 37.6 kilometers and not far away from the relatively brief flat part of this climb, which normally signifies the fact that you're halfway there. And yeah, he's doing a good job. As he's chasing someone in front who appears to have stopped, so he is now in 42nd place, and not too far to go until the flat.
Switch back there. I think Ben is right at the top of the volcano, so that might be him finished.
Yeah, I think it is.
Maybe briefly switch back to Ben if he's there.
Oh, yeah, that's me done. I didn't catch anyone on the end, but I was happy to stay away from the group behind, which kind of became a personal goal. PB up the hill by about 30 seconds, so I'll take that.
Oh, good job, Ben. All right, we're just now the B riders are just now hitting the steep portion. They're running 10% at 30 kilometers per hour. Kevin is fighting it out, 8 watts a kilogram. D. Bucknell is pushing down 13 watts a kilogram and really pulling away. Right at the very end, Kevin's going to come in second in the Bs with a nice time there. And the rest come through. So it looks like Kevin for the B riders came in second overall.
Great job, Ben, and great job, Kevin. Kyle, meanwhile, is, I would say, probably about 2 kilometers from home. And we're also seeing Dennis Wade is 34th in the C's. He's about 1.5 kilometers in front of Kyle. How's Tracy doing, Gordon?
Yep, so it looks like she's just started the bottom of the KOM, probably about 500 metres into it. There's a C rider right behind her. There's actually quite a string of D riders up ahead at 20, 27, 36 seconds, so it'd be interesting whether the climb suits her and she'll make some ground on them or not.
Just going to quickly jump in. I've just seen an M. Finney jump in front of Kyle, and Kyle's jumped straight on M. Finney's wheel. Possibly a relation to our co-commentator.
Yes, Maureen has kicked it up to 4 watts a kilogram here. She's left Mike Muggy behind. She's pushing hard by herself. And yes, as you say, Kyle, no guts, is on her tail trying to hold on. But she's still pushing 3.9 to 4, now 4.4, 4.9. So certainly she is able to beat me up the hill without a real difficult time.
Yeah, it looks like she's probably able to beat Carl up the hill as well. Maureen is absolutely flying. However, Carl is just pulling up on Mark V, one of our other Team Time Trial riders in the herd of platypus. Mark also doing a great job. Carl's just pulling past him now. And Carl doing a great job, hanging on to about 3.2, and not too far to go now. Just on the second of the 3 laps of Volcano. So just one more to go, and probably I think we've probably got about a kilometre and a half to go. Back to Gordon.
Yeah, so back to Tracy. Looks like that gap to the riders ahead is pretty much holding. looking at the stats on Zwift Power, they all appear to be fairly light riders in the 60 or high 70 kilos at most weight. So I suspect maybe the Volcano's not as big an advantage as you might have hoped for some of the lighter riders. But at the moment, she's certainly up the pace. She's doing sort of 2.5 watts per kilo, which is certainly higher pace. But the gap is still holding about 20 seconds ahead to the riders. We're seeing a few more C riders coming up behind, but right now it's all over the place. It's just 1 and 2 riders here and there. Some of them passing each other, but as I suggested earlier, up the hill, the draft effect has very little effect at this sort of pace. So everyone is just doing their own TT effort to see if they can catch up. But at the moment, it looks like John Richardson is the rider ahead, but the gap has grown to over 30 seconds. So I suspect now, I'm not quite sure how the points work for the Volcano climb portion of this race. Is it just the fastest rider up on a segment that gets the points, or is there any incentive to keep pushing?
So ideally, if I can get the points to work properly, you will score up to 25 points for your category finish for the race, and also your performance on the actual KOM as well. So you could potentially win 50 points, 25 points for the KOM, and 25 points for the overall finish.
Yeah, so that doesn't add a bit of interest if it works out that way, because even if you are dropped and there might not be anyone in your category near or behind you, there's certainly still an incentive to push up the hill and try and get a quick time up the Volcano. So that could make up all the points that you might have lost on positions if you can make a good time. But yeah, at the moment, it looks like Tracy's probably halfway up the Volcano, just heading through the centre of the Volcano, flattens off. Still, that gap in front has actually grown to about 40 seconds now. So, and the D rider behind is a full 2 minutes. So at the moment, she's shown as 20th place. But on Zwift Power, that's equating to about 6th place at the minute. Maybe with some riders to get removed from the results if they're overpowered. So I suspect she might be in about 4th or 5th place overall, which is a very good effort. But yeah, still pushing up the hill, kicking up to actually 3 or 4 watts a kilo there. So don't know if she heard what I said to push up the Volcano and get a good time. We'll wait and see. But yeah, how are we doing? Have we still got anyone at the front that's finished yet? I can see Maureen and probably, I think we've got Thomas Chu on screen now as well, which they must be approaching the top of the hill, I would have thought.
Yeah, Maureen is just hitting the steep part. She's at 5% at doing about 25 kilometers per hour. The incline is now punching up. She's at 9-10%, pushing 5.3 watts per kilogram. She's going for the finish here, trying to hang up there at 4.5 to 5 watts a kilogram, which for her is pretty high. Still doing 18 kilometers per hour as she crests the hill and heads through the banner. I'm sure she's going to be happy that she is now done. So she has completed the ride. Shekaro completed a little bit earlier. Michael Considine is coming up quickly in the A's, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm still following Carl. We've seen like a few A's, or a couple of A's. Jay Stoltz, D Strafford go past. Carl is just about coming up to the really nasty steep bit. He's chasing a B guy, a D guy in front of him. I think it's a D Froner, who's another herd rider, who's giving him a good target as we come to the really nasty steep bit. I'm still 5% at the moment, in 43rd out of 73 in the C category, as we hit the really steep bit just before the end. So he's probably got about 200 meters to go, and just putting down about 300 watts for the line. You can see the banner, not far to go at all now, about another 40, 50 meters. Very, very nearly there. Good effort, Kyle. Keep on pushing. Here we go, last 10 meters. And there we go. So back to the Ds.
Yeah, sorry, well,
ahead.
Ed, on you go if you.
Yeah, I've got John Richardson running up the hill. He's at 39.7 kilometers, so he's still probably got about half a kilometer just coming through the false finish there. Pushing hard at 2.9. 16 kilometers per hour. So John's doing pretty well. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, so John is the rider right in front of Tracy. Well, not right in front, 30 seconds ahead, which says I don't think that gap's going to close down now, though Tracy is still pushing. Just a minute ago, I saw her use the feather power up, so whether that was an early push for it or whether she's feeling the hill. Most riders try and keep that feather power up for the very end of the steepest part, so maybe this hill is starting to affect the legs, but she's still pushing on, still doing 2.4, 2.5. That gap to John is not really gaining anymore, but it's holding around 30 seconds. So, and with probably less than 1 or 2k to go, I think because Tracy looks like she's at 39.6 with the finish, I believe, just over 40 possibly. So
about 40.3ish in there, I believe. Yeah.
So we don't have far to go. It's just back on the flat wooden bridgey part of the volcano. Pushing up, but yeah, I think it's just a TT effort from here. The gap's 32 seconds to John, but I can still see John. He's letting up every now and again, but I don't expect that gap will close down enough for Tracy to catch. But still putting a good effort in to get a good time at the volcano, which if the points work out, that'll be certainly worth it. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has got anyone else we're looking on the ride, or I can also see Thomas Chews on the screen.
I know
there,
that we
I
have.
believe.
We've got Lisa Jones back there a little bit. Somebody we could pick her up. Right now, John Richardson's at 40.2, so he just got maybe a tenth to 2/10 of a kilometer to go. He's pushing almost 4 watts a kilogram, trying to push up this hill 16 kilometers per hour. He's just making the turn. Shouldn't be too long before he is done with this race.
I suspect he must probably be about at the steepest part if he's pushing 4 watts a kilo.
Just starting, he's at 5%. Is starting to tick up. Let's see, we're still 6%. Let's see, 6 gone to 7. He's used his feather power up 8. There you go, John. 9% red. We should kick to 10 red. He's pushing 3.5 watts a kilogram, 10 kilometers per hour. Come on, John, you can do it. Keep pushing. He's at 2.3. I think he's tired. I think a lot of these guys are tired. There, he's jumped it up to 3.7. He can see the banner. John is pushing hard. Dropped down to about 10 kilometers per hour, but still pushing. He's going to finish strong. Let's see. We're almost there. About 2.5 watts a kilogram. He just crested the hill, pushing it harder. His legs are spinning pretty fast, and he's through the banner. Good job, John Richardson.
Yeah, that's a good job. Just looking at the finish times, I suspect he might have got a bronze on the podium there, so that'll be a terrific result if that's the case. Looking back at Tracy, it looks like she's just at the bottom of the steepest part as well, so she's only about 30 seconds behind it. Like John, she's pushing as well. She's up to over 3 watts a kilo here at times, even a 4 there, 5 out the saddle by the look of it. 4 watts a kilo, certainly pushing up this hill for the final sprint. I'm sure she'll be glad as the finish banner comes into sight now. Still pushing 4 watts a kilo, so certainly not letting up for this final bit, or just
massive effort
to get it over
Tracy.
now.
Massive effort.
Holding over 4 watts a kilo for the last 10 or 12 seconds. Still going for the banner, but just a matter of meters now. So again, another terrific result. I think that'll probably be a 4th place for Tracy and Cat D, which is another good result. I would thought so. And she just finishes as well.
Excellent work from all of our racers tonight, and a big thank you to Damon for providing the pictures we've been able to send to all of you that have been watching. So a big thank you to Damon, a big thank you to Gordon and Ed as well as Ben, who's been on the course for us, and all of our other riders. So thank you everyone for watching and everyone who's taken part. So see you next week. All the best. Take care, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.